Welcome to podcast 43. Yes, 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 maybe, but yes.
And we are live. And this week we are joined by special guest Elijah Johnston. Thank you, Elijah, for coming on.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much
thanks
for
for
having
coming
me,
on.
boys.
So this week we're gonna keep it a little short and sweet, or attempt to. So instead of covering our normal weekly recap, we're just gonna go over the Oscars. And I can start rattling off winners if y'all want to do it like that, or do you just kind of want to talk about the highlights?
I think maybe talk about just the highlights.
Okay.
Because I think people like
The highlights
when we
were all
talk about the
so
highlights, we'll talk
high.
about the winners.
And everything was great, and no one was mad about anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the whole debacle at the end. I mean, like I was like, yeah, this is quite predictable for the most part until the very end, where I was like, oh, the reason why they switched the best pick, why they made it so best picture goes third to last, and then best actress and then best actor was so Chadwick Boseman would win, and it would be like, oh, a nice, like, I don't know, they like. I mean, I'll talk about like how kind of scummy I think that is. But they had it in their mind that, oh, he's gonna win, and so it's gonna look good for him. And then Anthony Hopkins ended up winning, and he wasn't even there. And then Questlove was just like, "Thank you for watching the Academy Awards," and that was it. And it was
Well, what an amazing ending to,
Steven Soderbergh didn't disappoint with that ending.
Go ahead.
Well, what Anthony Hopkins should have done is when he won, they should have just played the heavy metal headbang from his Twitter.
the
that would have
video
been
thing,
nice.
yeah.
But
It was funny because it was just like so clear that in Soderbergh's mind he was like, all right, I've got this great idea, like Chadwick's gonna win, and we're just gonna leave that last. And you could tell, like, in his mind, he thought like this will be sweet, like this will be like a nice way to end this, and we'll switch the order around because this is the most climactic thing. And it also cracks me up that right after that happens at the very end, it's like thanks for coming, and then they have the whole the like disclaimer about how it's an independent accounting firm that keeps track of the awards, and they're like kind of being like, okay, we didn't know what was gonna happen.
Yeah, it's not our fault. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see Ma Rainey's Big Black Bottom though, so I can't speak on the Chadwick Boseman performance in that. But I did see The Father, and I thought that Anthony Hopkins was really, really good in that. So, I mean,
I didn't see either of them, honestly.
I haven't seen either of them either. I was going to do a last ditch effort to catch up on all the Oscar stuff, but I didn't have the chance to. So yeah, I've only seen I think 1/3 of the Best Picture nominations, maybe even less than that. Juice and the Black Messiah, Mank.
I saw I think 26% of them or something. I mean, I didn't watch any of the shorts or like any of the documentaries, and the only foreign film that I watched was Another Round. So
did you watch the movie about the person who's in love with the octopus?
I didn't watch that one, but that one did look pretty cool.
Seems like a good time.
Yeah.
Is that a short or was?
No, it was a documentary.
It won best documentary. My Friend the Octopus or something like that.
Yeah, it's. I think that as far as like, I was just happy that the grandmother in Minari won. What was her name? I can't remember the actress's name, but I was rooting for her. And Daniel Kaluuya winning for Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, so I was rooting for him on that one too. I'm trying to find her name.
Yoon Yoo-jung. Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty, whatever year for movies. Nomadland was fine. I think both me and Elijah have similar thoughts on it. I assume based on our ratings. Nomadland.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah,
Frances is. I mean, Frances is good in it. Like,
Did she win for 3 billboards? Because I can't remember. Because I'd say like
um,
I don't know. I can't remember if she won for 3 billboards. Because I
yeah,
was
she
gonna
did.
say
She won for
oh,
3
wow.
billboards.
Good for her.
Because her and Sam Rockwell won.
That's right. That's right. Best director went to Chloe Zhao for Nomadland. Support international feature another round. Best animated feature went to Soul, which I wasn't too shocked by that one.
Always the
Trent
Pixar
Reznor and
movie.
Atticus Ross won for best score again.
Yeah. Well, they had
For the
two.
for
They
the
had 2
15th
nominations.
consecutive year.
Best original screenplay, Promising Young Woman. Adapted screenplay, The Father. Best cinematography went to Mank, which kind of surprises me, but
that was pretty funny.
Mank has more Oscars than Citizen Kane.
Somebody pointed out. So well, I mean, so does Tenet, but somebody pointed, which thank God Tenet won. I think it was best special effects.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But somebody pointed out that when speaking of Mank, that like when Anthony Hopkins like gets announced as having won Best Actor, like Stephen Yeun and Riz Ahmed are just sort of like clapping and like looking really straight faced, and then you see Gary Oldman's eyes like bug out real big, and he's like, and then he kind of like grins and starts clapping, but he has a moment where he's like, "You no way, like you're lying."
I mean, I thought he was okay in the movie.
I
don't
can't tell you
know.
anything about Mank other than that he's just a dude in that movie. Like, he's just like I'm Mank. I drink a lot. I
I'm
walk
drunk
around.
and
he writes half of Citizen Kane, and a guy that kind of looks like Orson Welles yells at him, and then he tries to dude, that movie was very boring. It's a big block in my like memory.
It's
Yeah.
and what a title.
Netflix is
Mank.
killing it.
Yeah, I was also watching the On Cinema at the cinema Oscar special at the same time, which was pretty wild because like there were 2 streams going on. There was the Tim Heidecker one, and then there was the Greg Turkington one, and then the streams merged, and so I had to keep up with that, and then the regular Oscars. And then Greg Turkington announced that he's making Mank 2, which is about Mank's follow-up film after Citizen Kane. So looking forward to that one. But yeah, I guess, is there anything else people want to say about the Oscars other than what we already talked about?
I checked out this year. Maybe I'll try again next year. I don't know. Yeah.
It was, I got a really ridiculous high out of the amount of like texts I received from people, or like group text things I saw last night where people would be like, "Huh, man, Oscars like looks really weird this year, and I can't figure out why." And I would just be like, "It's because it's Steven Soderbergh." Like, just being like that high of like explaining that to people who aren't sick like I am and don't care about these things.
Yeah, you know that guy that did those Oceans movies? Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can all at least the award season is behind us. Now on to
film festivals. The
film festival, new movies.
Cannes 21, baby. We're getting new PTA, new Wes Anderson,
new Leos Carax,
new Paul Schrader.
Oh yeah, I saw that still today.
Yeah, the card counter.
New Clint.
Yes.
Movies are back.
Movies are back,
exciting
baby.
Time. Movies were delayed, and now they're coming out now, and now they're back, which is good news. That we don't have any delays in the news this week. So that's good. Are you guys ready to jump into the news really quick?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I guess we can maybe just quickly go around, I suppose, and just talk about like, one thing that we saw this week that stuck with us, other than the feature film, of course, which is a real ideological behemoth that we'll be
A real
tackling later.
doozy.
Because I would like to give my weekly Woody Allen update of what Woody Allen film I watched last week.
I'm glad you bring that up, because we are later in this episode going to have to talk about where this movie falls in the Mort Rifkin extended universe.
That's true. Since Mort Rifkin has a very big role in this film.
Yeah, as Elon Musk.
Mort Rifkin as Elon Musk. Yeah, so I watched Magic in the Moonlight, which is Woody Allen's 2014 effort with Emma Stone and Colin Firth. And Colin Firth is like this magician that is very skeptical about magic and all that, and he's called upon to expose someone who is like a psychic, played by Emma Stone, and then it's very minor, but it was good. It's all right. When he has to like question all of his faith and stuff about like what he really knows is when it kind of is pretty nice. We can of course talk about the weirdness of Colin Firth falling in love with Emma Stone when she's, but like that's neither here nor there. Where that's a lot of his later effort. Yeah, a staple of his later work. For some weird reason, I don't know why.
There's not a documentary about it.
I think that this one is unfairly lamented as not being very good, but I think it is pretty all right as far as his 2010s work go. Blue Jasmine is about the ceiling there. Blue Jasmine is great. And then Irrational Man, and then everything else is just kind of whatever. But even though this falls into the category of whatever, it's like the top of the whatever with like Cafe Society. So
the Woody Allen spectrum.
Yeah, the Woody Allen 2010 spectrum. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Elijah, do you want to go?
Yeah, the thing I would say of the past week that I watched that was most notable is the very baffling. I rewatched it. I hadn't seen it since I was in high school, but the very baffling Baz Luhrmann adaptation of The Great Gatsby, which I watched on kind of a whim, and it's because I had just finished rereading the book. And I was like, I wonder what that movie really was like. Because when I first watched it in high school, I was like, man, I love this. Like, I just thought it was I loved just the whole thing of it and the vibe and like the fact that it was really strange and the music was anachronistic and whatnot. But it's not very good. And Leo in particular, like, depending on the scene, is either really good or really bad, and I've never seen him act like so inconsistently, which is pretty funny. And Carey Mulligan is in it, and she's pretty bad. And the Lana Del Rey score, is funny when I realized that there's about a 30-minute stretch of the movie where the instrumental version of Young and Beautiful is playing for the entire movie. It feels like I think it's probably not even 5 minutes, but it feels like an hour. And respect to Boz for going for it. I think he did understand that the book is like, sort of kind of amorphous and all about like dialogue that is like where you're kind of always like, why are these people saying this? Why are they talking about this? This doesn't matter. It's not relevant. That's a lot of what the book is. And he keeps all of that like tertiary dialogue in the movie, which is funny. But yeah, very strange movie. That's what stuck with me this week.
I do love that scene, and it's like at the top of the Empire State Building, and it zooms all the way down, and it's playing Jay-Z, and you just see Tobey Maguire's like, that
Yeah,
scene
dude.
always gets me.
Or what about when they play Who Gonna Stop Me?
Yes. Or when they drive on the freeway past a car and they go into slow-mo so that you can hear that the car is listening to like a Jay-Z, like in one of the older Jay-Z hits, which I thought was pretty funny that he was like, yeah, I'm gonna like executive produce this soundtrack, but I'm gonna put one of my old songs in there for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. As a I'm really not a fan of Baz Luhrmann. I think I find his style very obnoxious, and I don't know, it's
It's
like
not for me.
it's very invasive to my senses in a bad way. And even though that I think I have this movie sitting at quite a decent rating because I haven't seen it in a while, but I feel like definitely if I watched it again, I would
You'd love
very, very much dislike it. Yeah. It's just so weird, like how, yeah, like the contemporary music is just one thing I can't move past. And then just how the movie, it has like that like vintage look, but not actually vintage. It looks like fake vintage, like because what makes The Great Gatsby a very good novel or something that I really like is that it's written about it was written at that time. It is written in the 20s when during these parties and bootlegged alcohol and stuff. All this stuff was actually going on, and then they just kind of adapt it, and it doesn't really, and then they try to do the set design just kind of falls flat, and it looks like they're just trying too hard to make it look like the 20s.
Yeah,
It doesn't have those perfect imperfections.
the soundtrack I could never move past, but with his earlier work, I haven't seen I've seen bits and pieces of Romeo and Juliet, but I could never move past them using like Shakespeare's actual play as the script. It just always was so like, I don't know, it's just always so goofy to me, but I just don't think it's my type of thing.
They actually name dropped the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet at the Oscars last night, and
For real?
yeah, they talked about, or was it, maybe it was, they were talking about Amanda Seyfried, and she was like, they were saying like, well, what were her favorite movies growing up, or like what got her into movies, and that was one of them. But yeah, I also really don't like that movie.
Yeah. Well,
as well as Moulin Rouge.
That I still need to see that one, but that was the beginning of the.
You don't
I'm
need
assuming
to see
the
it.
beginning of the Leonardo heartthrob type thing that happened in the 90s. The only movies I'll be quick that I wanted to mention. I watched Bullet, the Steve McQueen movie, and I must say, I love how it's shot. It's beautiful. The film looks amazing. But it's a little underwhelming to me.
It is quite boring. Like,
yeah, there's a moment in like in the middle of the movie where you're like, okay, I see where they're going. Like they actually start to do like detective work, and it's like, oh, okay, it's picking up. And then he immediately like fumbles the whole thing, and it's just so funny. Not to spoil it, but it's just so funny to me how like highly regarded he is as a detective, but at every single turn he like kind of fucks it up somehow or some way. Howl's Moving Castle was fantastic. I watched that one over the week. Beautiful film. It's my first Studio Ghibli film, so I'm not too well versed in a lot of their work. I watched the dub, so seeing Christian Bale come out of an anime protagonist was quite funny, or Christian Bale's voice. And then lastly, just to touch on it briefly, I saw Mortal Kombat in theaters on the Big D. the way it was supposed to be watched. And I have very mixed feelings about it. I definitely don't think that it's a bad film. I think if you're, I'm not I'm not well versed in the video games or anything, so I have very much an outside perspective of it all. But I feel like fans who like the video games will really like this. All of the characters have like all of the actors really have a lot of fun with their characters and they feel very colorful and like fleshed out without actually fleshing them out like a crazy amount in the story. That whole
That's
sentence
not the only
applies.
flesh that gets out, torn out. I don't know.
Very true. But the main character, he needs some work. I think in the sequels, they'll need the writers might need to kind of develop on him a little bit more. Because he definitely kind of like pales in comparison to all the other characters, but not to say that he was badly acted. I just don't think his character had a lot to really like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I'm not over the moon about it, but it's decent. It's a fun fighting movie. The fighting is very well choreographed and really well shot, but there is kind of a scene near the later end into the film where they decide to kind of switch up how they shoot it, and it I don't think it works as well as some of the earlier fighting, but then for the last final fight, they kind of resume how they, I don't know why they kind of changed it up. I mean, I get what they were going for it. I don't want to spoil anything, but they change it up.
I heard there's like a lot of cuts in the action though. Like it's not like it's not like very fluid. Like it's more like
Mhm.
they cut a bunch.
They do, but it doesn't feel and I only say this because I watched a little bit of the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. It doesn't feel as convoluted as I think a lot of like modern action films kind of have an issue with like filming action where they use like four different cuts to convey one punch. Um, Really, the only time I saw that it was getting a little convoluted was in that scene near the end that I was talking about. But for spoiler sake, I don't want to go too far into it, but it kind of deals with characters being um like stuck in places that they're in smaller places that they have to fight, so like houses and stuff like that. And so it makes sense that it's a little bit more claustrophobic, but I don't think the way they decided to film it works as well and flows as well as the ways that they were filming it earlier and at the end. I don't really get why they changed it up, but it is what it is. But that's it for me this week.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, thanks for thanks for going to see that movie because I really didn't want to see it this week. So we have the podcast 43
Well, at this
review.
point, I've
Yeah.
covered the whole franchise, so except the TV shows and the spin-off movies, but the mainline ones I've gotten down now. Um, I don't know. It's a fun movie, but I don't think I'm like I said, I'm not like super crazy about it. If I were to rank it, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Mortal Kombat 95, Mortal Kombat 21.
I see.
That's probably how I'd go about that. But are you guys ready to hop into the news real quick so we can get to the feature film? All right. So in terms of trailers, we have Annette, which has Adam Driver and Marion Cotillard. I know I'm probably butchered that. But it is a musical from Leos Carax. No, I probably butchered that one too, but it'll be out in international cinemas on July 6th, I believe, and then it will have its debut on Amazon Prime. We have the movie Oxygen, which we've talked about briefly in the past, but it's from Alexandra Aja. It stars Melanie Laurent, and it is written by Christus LeBlanc, and that will be out on May 12th on Netflix. It's like a space horror slash thriller. There's a new trailer for Conjuring, the third Conjuring film, The Devil Made Me Do It, which is directed by Michael Michael Chavez. That will be out in cinemas May 28th. Lastly, or not lastly, sorry, I don't know why I jumped to that gun. There's a new, I was saying lastly because we've been waiting for so long to get it, but there's a new trailer for Fast and the Furious 9, which will be out June 25th. So let's go. It's finally coming. And we have two special Oscars trailer that they debuted during the Oscars. So one of them is West Side Story, which will be out December 10th, and In the Heights, which will be out June 10th. That's funny how that lined up. But in terms of news, Vin Diesel is working on a Rock'em Sock'em movie with Rampage writer Ryan Engel. So
the Vin Diesel
excited.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots movie is gonna be something.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
You know, there's certain things that you wouldn't think would work so well, but when you hear them, they just make sense. And that's definitely one of them.
Vin Diesel is doing Rock'em Sock'em, and The Rock is doing the Hungry Hungry Hippos movie. and aren't they also? They're making an Uno game.
Yes, with Little Yachty.
Yeah.
A live action. So Hasbro's busy, or Mattel. It's the same thing, I think.
A heist movie. Lil Yachty developing a heist movie. Directed by Steven Soderbergh, oddly enough.
Olivia Colman and Emilia Clarke have been cast in Marvel's Secret Invasion, from writer Kyle Bradstreet. George Miller has finished work on 1,000 Years of Longing, which was, if I remember reading correctly, it was a contractual thing with Warner Brothers, I believe, but I'd have to double check that. So now that is finished, he is beginning work on Furiosa, which apparently, in a quote that he was quoted as saying, will take place over many years. So I thought it was always just supposed to be like a prequel film of a young Furiosa, but now it sounds like it'll kind of be jumping around. The Flash film has finally started principal photography, and Michael Keaton is confirmed to be back on with it. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced this ahead of time, but Sally L. Hosani, Hosaini, has started working on her next project called The Swimmers from writer Jack Thorne. I'm sorry, I know I'm going to butcher this one too. Antone Fuqua is working on an adaptation of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with an all-black cast, which I believe it'll be an adaptation of a newer version of the play that's been, I guess, has been traveling around the world. And in kind of a confusing turn of events, because we last reported on this kind of deal between Netflix and Sony, where they signed a big deal to where they would have Sony's films on Netflix right after the theatrical kind of window had passed. But Sony has signed a deal with Disney, which will add the Spider-Man films to Disney Plus. So if I'm remembering correctly, and it's either or, I believe that the Spider-Man Tom Holland films that are part of the current MCU will go on to Disney Plus after they have their run on Netflix. But I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I think that is true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a little, it's just odd, because I don't think that Sony, like where they currently stand, I think that's probably one of their more profitable ones. And it's weird for them to sign a deal with Netflix and then also sign a deal with Disney Plus. I don't know. It's weird, but Justin Simon, who wrote Dear White People, will helm the new Haunted Mansion film for Disney. John Carney, who did Once and Sing Street, is working on a George Gershwin film with Martin Scorsese producing. Maya Erskine has joined the cast of the Obi-Wan series. James Mangold has had Thomas Kirschman to the cast of Indiana Jones 5. Malcolm Spellwell is making Captain America 4 with Anthony Mackie to star. He was a big producer and writer for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So he is currently overseeing and will co-write Captain America 4. But he's quite busy because he's also writing a film called Muscle. And he is writing it with co-writer John Swetnam for F. Gary Gray to direct. And Vin Diesel will also be the lead in that movie. So Vin Diesel is a very busy man.
It's really hard to hold Hollywood together, but somebody's got to do it.
Very true, very true. And more Vin Diesel news or Vin Diesel related news. I just thought I'd throw this in there because for people who are able to do it, I think it's a really cool thing to do. But it's mainly AMC theaters, but there are a ton of theaters around. I think it's in America. I'm not sure for international what the international cinemas are doing with it. But all the Fast and Furious films will play for free at AMC theaters, and they will be playing every Friday, which they have deemed Fast Friday, and build up for Fast 9. So you kind of have to. There's a website for you to go to. It's like fastfriday.com or something like that, where you can claim your tickets. It's not at every AMC, but I think it's at the bulk of them. And then Oscar winners are out. So that was written before we decided to do the Oscars thing. But I guess I'm ready to do our ad break if you guys are.
Yeah.
All right. And we are back.
All right. We are now going to talk about Richard Kelly's 2006 sophomore film, Southland Tales, which is something that it's really an experience like no other. So without further ado, I guess I'll ask our guest first. What are your initial thoughts on Southland Tales? I know this is your rewatch of Southland Tales, but what do you have to say?
I watched this movie for the first time on July 4th this past year, and which I knew I kind of had to do it on that day. And there is just something so I don't know, man. It's so the first impression I thought of this time on my rewatch is that it is difficult to watch. It is not a particularly it doesn't flow super easily. It literally it starts you on chapter 4 and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I'm sure we'll get into the graphic novel thing later, but it is just funny how it's okay, so here's 10 minutes of Justin Timberlake giving you the layout on this world. And I recently it was a couple months ago that I watched Can't Get You Out of My Head, the new Adam Curtis experience. And there was something about just the 10 minutes of voiceover of just sort of dropping exposition and information about conspiracies and things like that over weird CGI and war footage that I was I wonder if that kind of story structure was inspired by the early Adam Curtis stuff, where it's just what if I told you that everything you knew about the world was wrong? It's a weird Southern guy doing Adam Curtis.
To kind of build off of that, it's it throws you in the movie and gives you a lot of exposition, and then you're like, okay, well, that's interesting, and then it almost feels like there's a few rounds of large bursts of exposition in the opening. So I think I was a little taken back. It's a little kind of hard to get your footing because you're kind of trying to follow it, but Justin Timberlake is he's reading an essay to you. Which I'm making it sound like kind of a negative thing, but I don't think it's really that bad once you actually get into the film. It's just a lot to take in, and I think for the bulk of the movie, that's probably how I would I agree with you. Like it's kind of a difficult movie to watch because it is throwing a lot at you. Um, but I will say I don't think it should have been reviewed as poorly as it was. I don't think that it's that bad of a movie to kind of end the career of I'm assuming I haven't heard of if Richard
had-
Kelly has done
he had
anything.
another
one
follow-up
movie,
film.
He did
like
okay.
5 or 6 years later that didn't do super well, and he's pretty much, I mean, he's currently on the Southland Tales reclamation tour. I feel like the cynical part of me feels like maybe this, because they like put out the can cut
Mhm.
on Blu-ray, and like I was just reading before we started this like oral history of it, like with him and the producers from a couple months ago, and it's like it's just funny because part of me is like, I wonder if this is all part of like an elaborate plan where Richard Kelly's like, I'm gonna make people think that this movie is sick retroactively, and that's how I'm gonna goodwill my way into a new movie, which probably wouldn't happen. But
I mean, I hope
I would
I
be
was
interested.
I mean, when as a young middle school cinephile, I thought that Donnie Darko was like the coolest thing I ever saw when I was in 8th grade, and
I have never seen even a single frame of that movie.
Oh,
really,
for real?
never
There's
even seen
a
the picture of him in the movie theater with the rabbit and Frank.
there's
I have
there's some
seen
Easter
that, yeah.
eggs because Frank's silhouette shows up a few times in the movie, like on little posters around the place. Well, Chris, I can definitely agree, and I have a story to tell you when we get done recording because I don't really want to say it on the podcast. But I got to high school, and that it seems like it was an introductory movie for me to watch. When you enter high school.
And so
Yeah.
similarly, I've been perplexed by this film ever since I found out about it. So probably as soon as I watched Donnie Darko, but I also didn't get around to it until 4th of July last year. And then my mind was just completely blown away by how prophetic it is about, I don't know, just a lot of like what Kelly wrote into the script, and just how crazy it is that like there's quite there's a lot of comparisons that you can draw to our current landscape politically with this film. And I think a lot of that has to do with how perfect the casting is. Like, you need The Rock to be in this movie. You need
We'll
Sarah
say
Michelle
so.
Gellar, Mandy Moore, Justin Timberlake, because all these people are like celebrities that don't fit in this movie, but it's saying something more on like the topic of like the blending of celebrity and politics, and like what that does to like our culture. And it's quite funny now that The Rock is maybe running for president. So was Kelly right? I think so. I think
It'd be
a little
funny
bit.
if he joined his PR team and did all of his video material.
Yeah, the Rock's presence in this movie really is like what kind of anybody else it wouldn't be convincing, but I don't know, it's his presence in it is very like pointed casting for sure. But yeah, there's something, I think the kind of prophetic element of it is a very interesting, like it's very real. And it's interesting because apparently like what I'm reading about it is that before it, like he wrote it in like 2000, and the original version of the script was like basically like almost like the player, that it was the producer describes it as in this IndieWire article that's like the interview with Eric Cohn, that's oral history of the making of the film. Like the producer talks about the first script was like an Altman-esque comedy about
Yeah.
a failed group of actors, and there was like a con against another like famous actor. And then after 9/11, he turned it into like a sci-fi apocalypse movie. And I think something that I was thinking about this, and I guess maybe my sensitivity to this was increased because the anniversary of this incident was the other day, but there's something about the JT character that makes me feel like he's a little bit of a cipher for like Pat Tillman, because like the whole thing is, you know, that JT's character is like a famous actor who got shot by friendly fire, and he
Yeah.
comes back like disfigured, and he gets turned into like a propaganda piece for like every side of the argument. um and it's just nuts because it's like I was thinking about that because, you know, the other day was the anniversary of Pat Tillman's death, which is I don't really understand a whole lot about that situation, but just the idea that like an American celebrity being like shot by friendly fire, you know, and is sort of being utilized as like a propaganda piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I it's a pretty it's pretty wild, and I think that happened in what 2004. Pat
I've
Tillman.
I've
Yeah.
never heard of him,
Well,
unfortunately.
Pat Tillman, he was a football player, and
Yeah,
he
he was a member. He was on the Arizona Cardinals, and he joined the military and fought in. You know, he fought in. I don't know if it was Iraq or Afghanistan, but he started basically dissenting publicly, and like there were all these like emails that he had and like correspondences he had with different people where he was like, I don't know if what we're doing is right. I don't know if this is just like, I signed up for this because I thought it was like the right thing to do, and now I'm not so sure about it. And he was like, you know,
Mhm,
high profile and whatever.
mhm,
And then he dies in kind of like a shady way.
mhm,
And essentially he was killed by friendly fire. And the like some people believe, and like I said, I don't really know all the details, but some people believe that like he was killed because he was a dissenter
mhm.
and that it was covered up. And other people believe that it really was an accident, but that it was like that they were scared that it would look like they
Mhm.
assassinated him, you know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that kind of stuff. So, but it's just he turned into a very big like kind of like political issue, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
And that's what's so interesting about the JT characters is like he's still alive, you know, and he's like
mhm.
he is a political issue in his own right. Even though he's also it never like really addresses the fact that he also still works his like day job of shooting people from
yeah.
1,000 yards into the ocean. Like,
I do find the whole like the whole idea of like just people being extra, like the way that they portray like extrajudicial killings of just like people that are like, I don't know, pretty much just militarized policemen that just like stay in the ocean, or kind of just have play just like lookout points, and then they just snipe people, is
Mhm.
quite interesting because it's so like matter of fact in this world that, and like people don't even get scared. I noticed something. People don't even get scared when people take out guns. It's only when they fire guns.
yeah,
Like there's just so many scenes where like somebody has a gun, and then like nobody says anything until like a bullet is fired, which I guess it can show like just how normalized this type of violence is, or at least this type of imagery um in this world that Kelly kind of constructs. And the near future element is just, I think it's just really cool that it takes place in 2008.
yeah. It.
Because
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because I mean, I would say that a lot of these things, or like as far as like political movements and stuff, or like what Kelly's kind of getting at, I don't think it really happened in this country maybe until 2016. But it's weird that he picked 2008, and it was so it feels in the future but also in the past at the same time.
Yeah.
To build off of what you were saying about there almost being lookout points, it almost feels like they're on the edge of every roof that you can see. 'Cause there's that one scene, and there's a chase between I forget the comedian's name. I forgot her name.
Are you talking about Amy Poehler?
No, I'm assuming she's a comedian because I've seen her in like a ton of comedies.
Are you talking about Janine Garofalo?
Yeah, I think was she the one that had the tape of the killing
Oh,
of the
yeah,
double
and
murder.
she was in like Wet Hot American Summer and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So she's chasing after, oh God, Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. I'm so sorry, guys. They're chasing after each other, and she pulls out a gun and goes to shoot at Sarah, and she immediately gets killed. But there's like it within the shot on top of the building where like I guess the militaristic police are, there's like 3 of them all aiming at them. I just thought it was interesting because there's like an abundance of them everywhere. And I also wanted to kind of just throw it out there. Christopher Lambert is back. He's in this movie and he's awesome, but he's got a small little role. He doesn't do too much, but his presence is I liked his presence in the movie.
Yeah, his presence is always welcome in films.
Yeah.
and I think I find it almost hard to discuss like how to kind of summarize something like this so briefly, because
it's hard.
It is hard to like describe what this movie is to people that haven't seen it.
I was thinking about this because in between seeing this the first time and seeing it now, I started reading and then watched the movie form of Inherent Vice, and there is something so kind of like you get like 3 scenes, like you'll watch like 3 scenes in a row, and it's very much like I don't really understand how we're getting from point A to B. And I think it's really good in that, and sort of how Inherent Vice is of like capturing an idea of like that a conspiracy would be like really unknowable, and like you can't really, it's like there's a truth to it that's sort of like you feel but you can't articulate it. And that's like something about this movie that is so kind of heavy, is like there's this weird sort of spirit level truth to it that like you can feel but you can't really like explain. And the fact that the plot makes very little sense kind of adds to the confusion of it. But I don't know.
It makes very little sense, like concretely from like a regular narrative perspective, but like everything abstract, like I said, like big picture, this is like the whole like like all the Patriot Act stuff, like kind of how everything is turned up to 11 as far as like where we were at when Kelly wrote this script and when this film was made, is just what I find to be so interesting. And then it's just like, all right, yeah, Justin Timberlake saying, quoting the Book of Revelations. Yeah, I'm fucking here for that. Like, like, and it just happens. And, there's just like little things that just make me, I especially think on rewatch, I found this to be a lot more digestible, as with a lot of things are. But
I would definitely like to rewatch it. I
was
texting to our group chat. I was hoping I could get a rewatch in before we were recording, just because it is a very dense movie. But I wanted to ask you guys, and I'm with a movie like this, I feel like there's many ways to interpret it, and there's there's a lot going on and a lot being said. And spoiler alert, I'm sure we have probably already spoiled something, but near the end of the movie, during the dance number with the Rock, and the Rock kind of takes an almost Christ-like pose. Did you guys see it almost looks like something bleeds, like the
Well, he's
face of Christ bleeds.
well,
on.
he's got the tattoo that they show.
Oh,
There's like
yeah.
one shot early in the movie that they show he's got like the literal face of Jesus tattooed on his back, and then right at the end of the movie, yeah, the tattoo starts bleeding, like through the shirt.
Yeah. So I didn't know if that was like the second coming of Christ. I don't know.
I think that's definitely what Kelly's getting at. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's Sean William Scott's character as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do like how like his tattoos are just like of all different. It's just like every
Yeah.
religion. It's like Hindu, in the Hinduism, Judaism.
He's got he's got the Star of David around his belly button, which is hilarious. I think and this is maybe me reading further into it than Richard Kelly was intending, although part of me feels like this is exactly what Richard Kelly wanted, was for people to read things into it that aren't really there. But that whole thing where he's like as far as like talking about the second coming, like when The Rock says like, who you really want is Roland Taverner, and it's like, because the whole movie sets The Rock's character up as like, he's like the guy, like he's gonna be this weird like Christ figure in this movie. And then at the end, he's like, he's the guy, like, and then the whole thing where JT reads the line of Revelation and starts talking about, like a savior, but then he just starts talking about, and his name was Roland Taverner, but it's definitely, I think what's going on there is like sort of the John, like, I think that The Rock's character is kind of supposed to be like the John the Baptist of the situation, like the guy that everybody looked at and was like, this is our guy, like this is the guy he's at the center of this whole thing. And then he has to be like, no, it's someone after me, it's someone else entirely. And it is, the whole like the biblical revelation stuff really kind of like I was shocked when I saw it at how like it just goes for that at the very start of the movie. He's like reading Revelation in the first two sentences. But and it's very not, there's just nothing about this movie that's subtle, which I appreciate.
I mean, Richard Kelly doesn't he likes really the director's cut of Donnie Darko specifically. Like the theatrical cut is a lot more like kind of ambiguous, but like the director's cut of the film, like he adds a bunch of footage, a bunch of like extra like lore and like world building that like that just does not need to be there at all. And so like after that took off, like they gave him like kind of, I guess, carte blanche to just do whatever he wanted. And so like, you similarly see that in this, where he just was like, yeah, I'm just going to create this whole world and make things do like like just tell it like it is, even though that maybe it doesn't need to be as convoluted or as it's like very unsubtle. But yeah,
without spoiling Donnie Darko, in the director's cut, doesn't he add a more concrete ending to the ending of Donnie Darko? Or I guess he adds a more, because it's been a really long time since I've seen it. But I want to say, I don't know. Does the director's cut end differently from the theatrical cut?
Yeah, I think a little bit. And then also like that book that that woman wrote, like there's just like so much extra excerpts from those pages and stuff that it's just like, all right, dude, like really did that homework. You really fleshed out this book. And then there's like all these bonus features on the DVD where you can like look at other parts of the book if you wanted to, that describes the time travel theory. Yeah.
Interesting.
Uh,
We're not sponsored by Arrow, but
yeah, we're not.
They're Richard Kelly fans, so they have good editions of Donnie Darko and Southland Tales, where you can find the con cut if you want to get it too.
Yeah, I mean, I bought the Blu-ray a few days ago, and that was what I watched. But we didn't watch the con cut, but it does have it on there where Richard Kelly premiered this at con, and he took about 25 or so minutes off of it because people were very confused. And
it's the brown bunny of the it's the brown bunny of the 2006 Cannes Film Festival.
It really is. I mean, Richard
Kelly was wishing hexes on Roger Ebert or whatever.
Yeah, Richard Kelly didn't take it as personally as Vincent Gallo did. He just said, "All right, I'm gonna cut this. I'm gonna cut some stuff off. I'll add he added, apparently, I haven't seen the con cut yet, but he added that exposition at the beginning because that wasn't originally there."
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine throwing to watch that movie without.
It is so confusing.
Richard Kelly's like, wait, you guys didn't read the three graphic novels before you went and saw this movie? You didn't do your homework?
They just hand out essays as you walk into the theater and give you a little bit of prep time to read it before the film starts.
And I mean, I really don't know any other movie like this where you have to read a bunch of graphic novels. The first 3 chapters of this are told in graphic novel form, and then this starts with chapter 4 through 6. Very next level.
Including one of the coolest things about this movie, where it just says, it's like you get halfway through a scene, and by this point I had sort of forgotten about the chapter thing. It sort of lulls you in, and then it just says Chapter 5, Memory Gospel. This movie, the thing is like, it makes sense that he wrote this as like a Robert Altman comedy type thing, because this movie is like hilarious.
Oh yeah.
So I think my favorite joke that I didn't really pick up on the first time I watched it is the scene where they're looking at the computer, where the vice presidential candidate is looking at the computer, and they're looking at that video of Boxer on the beach, and he goes, "Is that Boxer?" And as it like zooms in on this like 2 pixel by 2 like just like figure running on the sand that like you can barely tell is even a human being, let alone who it is. And the other guy just looks at me and goes, "Absolutely, yes." It's like, what? That's him.
Or just Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, and just like how everything that she does, like she's just so like, everything that she says is just so stupid. Like,
yeah.
like her show, because she plays this porn actress that becomes a TV personality that also has a bunch of, that's a singer that also has like energy drinks and all this other products that she sells, and so they show excerpts from her show, her talk show that she does, and like they're just talking about like the stupidest things. Like they're like, the Supreme Court, how's the Supreme Court going to rule on this? What if I have sex with somebody on a plane to London and I take a contraceptive?
Morning after pill becomes the morning before pill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's her music video where the guy in the background makes a joke about how the Columbine killers were incels. He says that the Columbine killers should have like gotten laid more often, essentially. Like, which that, I mean, just, gosh, this movie is so funny.
Scientists predict the future is going to be more futuristic than expected.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what if you gave Minority Report the tone of like The Big Lebowski, and but all of the character, but you directed all the actors to act like it was the most serious movie in the entire world.
Yeah.
And that's
Sean William
essentially-
Scott is definitely he's
Oh my
he's
gosh,
he's trying really hard.
dude! I wanna he seems to not know what movie he's in. Like everybody else, kind of like I think was just told something different. Like Amy Poehler and Wood Harris, like they're hilarious.
They're amazing.
Um, yeah, like I mean, The Rock knows that he's supposed to be funny. Like he's got the charm going on. Like, but yeah, Sean William Scott is like just deadly serious this whole movie.
I wasn't trying to dog him out. I've just seen him in a lot of like other um I don't know how I would phrase it, but I've never seen something. I don't think he's never been as serious as he was in this one and the other movies that I've seen him in. So it was just kind of it was different for me. There's something else that I was gonna say, but I'm forgetting it. Oh, did y'all feel at parts of the movie it felt very inspired by David Lynch to me, and I thought that was quite funny. I don't know if it is.
He's doing a
Yeah.
Mulholland Drive riff for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Because he brings in Rebecca Del Rio to sing the national anthem in
Yeah.
Spanish at the end of the world. And it's like, okay, dude. Okay.
it's so like I I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, and I think all of it is handled relatively decently, but I think there are some pretty funny moments, like with the I do love how like the group of scientists, Trier or Trier or something,
Yeah,
or
Trier.
Trier. I do love how they're like all really like kind of old and decrepit to a certain extent, besides the wife or the I don't know what her there's like a character that's kind of like the enforcer, I guess you could call her. But I do love like the grandma, and she goes up to Boxer, she's like, Boxer, you were right about it all. And she just sits on it's very very good in terms of the rule of thirds. But there's a scene where she's like sitting on this long staircase as Boxer's like contemplating what his like next steps are. That felt very Lynchian. And then there's also a ton of smoke randomly throughout the kind of world, which is a byproduct of the kind of new energy that they're working with this tidal wave thing. But it adds a very like dreamy yet grounded kind of atmosphere. It's very funky.
I mean, yeah, it's like the shit with well, we haven't even talked about Wallace Shawn's character.
Mort Rifkin.
Mort Rifkin.
Mort Rifkin makes an appearance in this film. Yeah.
Not talking about the European classics.
Wallace Shawn in this movie is, yeah, I want to know what his thoughts are on this movie.
Which character did he play?
He's the scientist that created the energy
Oh,
source.
okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. I didn't know the actor's name. I recognized him, but
he's pretty I would love to know his thoughts on this movie and the fact that he was in it. Yeah, what were you gonna say, Chris?
I was gonna say, like, yeah, the whole like he's like Elon Musk, like, or like a proto Elon Musk of like this kind of dude that like is kind of lauded in the tech community as like this genius, and he like created this alternative energy source which people will use for, because like, you know, resources are so finite now. And then it turns out that like he's actually working with the neo-Marxists the whole time, which is quite an insane twist, because
Which also underrated funny thing that they just call the like left wing cell in the movie the neo Marxist, like, just in the first like 2 sentences of the movie, JT's like,
the
and
neo-Marxists.
these liberal cells all over the country were dissenting, most notably the neo-Marxists. And then it just is a picture of Karl Marx. It says dethroned God.
I also enjoyed how like a not a huge group, but a little group of the neo-Marxists are like really big stoners. And then they also have like throughout the film, you'll randomly see 69. And it's just
My
like a
gosh.
reoccurring thing. Sorry, I just
Proposition
remembered that.
69.
Yeah.
69. He traveled 69 minutes back into the past.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. There's
The weirdest thing about this movie, or the thing that it gets them most off as far as futuristic predictions, is that a Republican can win California, though. That they're like, the Republicans, we almost have California.
yeah, it's like
The fight for the century is happening in California.
But I do appreciate that at least he gives like a reason for why that's even happening, because he's like, yeah, like there was a nuclear bomb dropped on America, and so they've like swept up this wave of like kind of wartime sentiment, And I was like, well, as ridiculous as a Republican winning California seems, like at least there's like they give like a reason for it that makes you're like, okay, well, I get it.
Well, with Caitlyn Jenner running for governor now,
She's gonna win.
And the news is sorry.
I was just gonna say something that was very prescient that there's two like images in this movie that are so haunting to me, because it's like, how did they feel very like of the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm just always like, like that's so specific that they got that right. But one is like that there's a shot of the inside of that office, like the US ident office, like the NatSec McKinsey style like think tank, and there's a shot of them doing like stretches together. And I was so fascinated by the idea of like a company that does like surveillance on other American, like invasive surveillance and like war crimes, that they have like self-care routines while in the office, like kind of just that idea of like being woke while also doing like horrible offenses to the American
Humanity.
people.
Yeah.
Which it feels like a very of the last couple of years kind of thing, of people, of like the CIA posting stuff on Twitter where it's like, here's how to take better care of your mental health. And it was that, and the image of, I think that there's a shot where a guy looks at his draft card and it's got like a QR code on it or something. It's like something essentially like that. It's like, oh, scan your draft card.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what? Like,
it's like the technology. So those two things are very strange. It's like, and does, like I said, prophetic. It's an amazing. It was sent through a void in 2006.
What is it she says? Don't laugh at my prophecies all you want. That doesn't mean they're not true, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then she says, everybody wants to be a porn star. That's the next line.
Pimps don't commit suicide.
Oh man, this movie's so funny.
Are you Deep Throat too? No, I wasn't in that one.
That was a good line. I do like I shouldn't say like, but I do find it funny where the kid, going back to the QR code thing about being in the draft, he has the draft in one hand and the gun in his other hand, and Sean William Scott sees it and he's like, don't kill yourself. And he's like, "Oh, okay." Just puts down the gun and go robs an ATM with Sean William Scott. So,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, like I guess I wanted to talk about what I think is like the best part of the movie. The apex is the scene, the dream sequence / hallucination sequence that Justin Timberlake experiences when he actually meets with the guy the guy that's the drug dealer that is trying to kill himself, that Sean William Scott teams up with, where where he injects himself with a fluid carbon or whatever it's called,
Like fluid karma.
fluid karma.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like then it goes into like the chorus for all these things that I've done by the Killers, and he starts like dancing and he's all like bloody and stuff, and he has like a Budweiser and he's in like an arcade, and it's just like holy shit, that is like, when I think of this movie, like that's like what always comes to mind of like being kind of a perfect representation of like what this movie represents, like this guy that is a veteran of the war, and then with like kind of the contemporary pop culture, and then just all these women dancing around him drinking a Budweiser, the symbol of like capitalism. And actually Budweiser is advertised prominently throughout this movie, like in the news sequences.
The Budweiser stuff is hilarious.
Yeah. Like the fact that they were okay with like being associated.
Something tells me they didn't know how they were going to be integrated into the film.
Like Budweiser and Hustler are like the two most
Yeah.
prominent like real world companies, I think.
The first three advertisements you see on that first like newscast thing that happens during the first voiceover sequence is Panasonic, Budweiser, or Bud Light and Hustler. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty like indicative of like American advertising and like American corporations is like pornography, alcohol, and
Consumer electronics.
Yeah.
Or like the they show like the tanks in the Middle East, and it's like Hustler is on the side of the tank. But yeah, like he dances to that Killer song, and it's like you have like these like nurses that all look the same, and like it's just like it's like so fucked up, but at the same time it's like you just can't help but sing along. And that's Southland Tales in a nutshell. It's fucked up, but it's a good time.
I got soul, but I'm not a soldier.
I got soul,
It
but
is really bold that he only does the bridge until the end of the song. Like that it's just like, all right, so here's the thing. We're going to do a sing-along sequence, but it starts like we don't need the first 2.5 minutes of this song.
Yeah, just the bridge.
It's very cinematic though. It's kind of moving. Like
I
in a very
know.
stupid way. Like I was watching it again this time. I was like, okay, whatever. It's the scene we all know about. And then it's like, oh, I forgot. This is like pretty like jarring. And the shot where he's like picking the girl up and like spinning her around is just there's something kind of that touches me a little bit about it.
It really,
It's a
I
really
mean,
nice scene.
and as a musician, what did you think about the musical choices in this film, Elijah?
Dude, the music in this movie is great.
I know.
There's
I
so
think my
many good
personal
needle
favorite
drops.
needle drop is the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club one at the start of the party when he like walks into the Zeppelin. It's the song How, and it's just grinding away in the background. But yeah, it is yeah, the music selection is great. Getting JT like a noted good musician, like, you know, just that's what he's actually known for, to like lip sync like he's in a music video but to a Killer song is another piece of really funny pointed casting of like, you know, just getting someone with that star caliber to play somebody this weird is, you know, very impressive. But the music in this movie is great.
I mean, like that credits needle drop of like Tender by Blur. That's so good. Like, it's just like he, like his name was, you know, Sean William Scott's character. And then it's just like tender. And then the fact that one of the chapters is named Wave of Mutilation after the song plays.
Thinking about it in hindsight, it's kind of funny how in the beginning, JT's like, this is the story of Boxer, but his name was Jonathan, or I forget his name. His name was Sean William Scott.
You know, Moby actually liked Donnie Darko so much that that's why he wanted to work on this movie. Like, that's why he did music for this movie, even though he apparently says he has like an aversion to working on motion picture soundtracks. And
well, because it reminds him of his ex-girlfriend Natalie Portman.
Yeah, who he totally dated.
I thought the score was really good too. It only benefits the visuals. I never found it to kind of overtake, but it just adds to the mood and the emotions of a lot of the scenes really well.
Does anybody else have anything to say on Southland Tales?
It'd be cool. It's an interesting double feature for sure to do Donnie Darko in this one. I'm sure you could probably pair Southland Tales with a different political kind of commentary movie, but just to see the evolution of a director within like a relatively short amount of time, I think would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think I have it on my double features list. I think I have it paired with something, or I could be wrong. Because like I feel like, I don't know, it would go really well with. I'm a big proponent of suggesting people watch Starship Troopers than Fahrenheit 9/11.
Interesting.
So something like that. So maybe a triple feature if you have the time.
I remember the iconic letterboxed pan of Under the Silver Lake where David Ehrlich said every generation gets their own Southland Tales. That movie definitely, I think that this, I always want to lump this in with the sort of LA like stoner noir conspiracy sort of canon that I'm upset, like the Inherent Vice, Under the Silver Lake, Big Lebowski kind of thing, but it doesn't really fit very neatly into that box because it's got too many people and the conspiracy is actually like too ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's actually, it matters too much. Like the whole point is like at the end of all those movies, like they get to the end of it and the whole point is they realize like this is like important, but it's like it's not the biggest deal in the world, and like I can just sort of forget about it and be okay and like keep my sanity. And at the end of this, it's like, no, actually, this concerns like the flow of space and time and the existence of God and things like that.
The porn industry,
things like that. Yeah.
It's definitely one to check out. I mean, I highly recommend it. It's definitely going to push you. But hey, that's what films are for. So, or if you just want to be entertained by a film, like I've said plenty of times on the podcast, it does that too. So,
yeah.
Well, I guess that's it on Southland Tales. Yeah.
Right.
And Fulton, do you want to introduce our next feature film for next week?
Yeah. I'm actually really excited. I decided to choose this film, and it seems the more that me and Chris kind of look into it, the more kind of interesting the story gets. So we're gonna be doing Don's Plum from 2001 next week, which is has a very, very young Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, Charlize Theron. And long story short, just to give people a taste of it, it's banned in the US and Canada because Leonardo DiCaprio hates it. So We have quite a film. I'm assuming. I haven't seen. We have not watched it, but we're very excited. We have a film and a story to kind of unravel next week. So
Yeah. But thank you for coming on, Elijah. Do you
Thank you.
want to promote any? I mean, you're a musician, so I mean,
Yeah,
can
listen to my
plug your
music.
stuff.
I don't have many things to plug outside of that, and that doesn't really have much to do with Southland Tales, but that does exist.
whatever you
And
want to promote, we're cool with. It doesn't have to
yeah,
be.
well, then it's my music under the same name as that is my real name. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. Not that's pretty much all.
Well, we can link your music in the description of it too.
That
As
could
well.
be fun.
Yeah. But thank you for coming on, and like always, stay wavy, everyone.
Pimps don't commit suicide, and stay safe. That's right.